Hey everybody, it's that time of week. We do our Beyond the Message conversation. Thanks for joining me today. And if you weren't with us this weekend, I'll give you a little kind of glimpse into the weekend message. I talked about habits. We're in this year, it's called Breakout 2020. And if you recall, we mentioned that this outbreak has caused many of us to look inwards, but the truth is, as Christians, we should be going outwards, and that's what a breakout is emerge into something new. And so today I want to unpack for you one of the great habits that we as Christians need to have in our lives that I think a lot of us struggle with, and that's prayer. I talked a little bit about this weekend, and I really led into the prayer and fast that many of us are participating in right now. I hope you're doing okay. I know this morning we sent out a devotional to you, and maybe today you can get a little bit more encouragement as I share with you the importance of prayer. So in Philippians chapter 4, Paul writes to the Philippians the importance of this great discipline or habit that Christians need and should have in their lives. But here's what happens for many of us. We don't know what prayer is. As a matter of fact, I talk to people all the time who are confused about prayer, or they feel like they hit a lid or a wall with prayer, so they just stop praying. And I think it's because we complicate something that has never intended to be complicated by even God himself as a gift that he's given us. This idea of communicating to him is not that hard, not that difficult, but we've complicated it. And so Philippians chapter 4, Paul writes to Christians, like people like you and me, a couple thousand years ago, and he says this: don't worry about anything. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Let me just give you what Paul is doing here. He contrasts. There's a contrast, like worry, anxiety, depression, difficulty. Look, we're all dealing with elements of that right now in a pandemic, with all the world happenings, all that stuff. We've got a crazy election coming up, all that stuff. Right now, in this time of prayer and fast here at Riverbank, and through this message in this series, Breakout, I think we need to pray a little bit more. And what prayer is it's the opposite of worry. You see, worry, and what Paul says right here is this idea: worry is anxiety or discouragement or even depression. We shouldn't be encapsulated by all that. What we should do is counter that with prayer. Prayer. He says, pray about everything. Not some things or a couple things. Like we have probably a bad habit in the prayer life that we do have, to pray about just the same things every single day. And look, I'm guilty as anybody. I have my list and I pray, but I ask God every day to examine my heart. And as I do that, when I ask God to examine my heart, like help me reflect, help me think about all these things, I'm able to pray about anything and everything. I'll think of some of you personally. Sometimes some of you guys will get a text from me. When I see you, sometimes I say, hey, I've been praying for you. I mean that because the Lord gives me that. We should pray about everything, and everything includes everyone. We should be in prayer. That is the absolute opposite of worry. Isn't that interesting that prayer is the opposite of worry, according to Paul here? He goes on and he says, tell God what you need. Isn't that cool? How simple is that? Tell him what you need. What do you need right now? In the midst of this time of prayer and fast, what do you need? Maybe you need just to be encouraged. Ask God, God, encourage me, lift my head, lift my heart, bring someone into my life, another Christian that can encourage me. Maybe your prayer isn't that. Maybe you, as I look at this, tell God what you need. Maybe you just need a clear mind. Remember, we talked about that just a few weeks ago, that Christians in the time we live in, we should have a clear mind. And we have a clear mind, we can make clear judgment, we can make clear decisions and God-honoring decisions. So maybe you need a clear mind. Ask God for that. God, filter out some of the things that need to get filtered out. And that's beauty of a time of prayer and fast, is where you're able to disconnect from some things. Maybe you need to disconnect from social media. Maybe you need to disconnect from your favorite news source, CNN, Fox News, whatever it might be. Maybe you just need to disconnect from that. And in that, what we'll see is God will come in and fill those gaps with hope and life and peace and goodness and kindness. Tell God what you need. And Paul goes on and says, and thank him for what he has done. When was the last time you took a concerted time, a real focused time, and thanked God for rescuing you? You thank God for the simplicities of life and the necessities that he's provided of life. When was the last time you just thank God for the air in your lungs and the fact that you're able to stand on your feet? You know, I'm the one that's so easy to complain about things. I don't know about you, but if it's too hot, oh, it's too hot. Or it's too cold, oh, it's too cold. And we're easy to that. What about us going to God and thanking him for all the things that he's provided, how he has filled every need that we have, instead of complaining? Let's thank him. That's what prayer is. Prayer is thanksgiving. Prayer is asking. And he goes on, Paul says this in verse 7 of Philippians chapter 4, then you will experience God's peace. Wouldn't you agree that in this time, many of us need more peace? Wouldn't you agree that this is a time where it's almost the opposite? You hear a lot of people crying out for peace or striving for peace or thinking that the election is going to bring peace. The truth is God is the only one that can bring us peace. So let me encourage you today, as we go beyond the message, to form a great habit of prayer in your life. And it's simple. It's simple. You go to him. You talk to him. Ask him for things. Ask him. He wants to provide for you. You're his kid. Thank him. Thank him for all he has done. And the Bible says, in return, God will bring you peace. Isn't that cool? Hey, thanks for hanging out with me today. Make sure you tune in each and every day throughout our time of prayer and fast. If you're at Riverbank, make sure you tune in because we have daily devotionals just for you. Thanks for hanging out with us today. I believe that our best days are ahead, and it really is rooted in us praying and going before God. I'll see you guys soon.